Hi guys, welcome to another video of Anna Does Pilates at home. Today's video is with a small ball equipment. Starting in standing for a short warm up, we're going to go into mermaid stretch on one side, holding the ball at the tip of the hands and then switching with the other side. And you can note there that I'm just pushing my hand away from my body just to try and add to that stretch on both sides also. Just make sure you keep your knees nice and soft and keep alternating from one side to the other. And just adding a little bit more of a knee softening, so going into a bit of a bend there and trying to go a little bit further in my stretch on both sides as I'm getting a bit more warmed up. At the end of the mermaid stretch this time, I'm going to bend my knees to bring that ball all the way down to the floor and then back up, and doing the same anti-clockwise, ball down, bending knees and back up. Switching sides, rolling down the way and up and other way. Now doing the same with both hands to do a nice big circle, getting that flexion around the legs, around the back, and extension at the very end, pushing that ball up to the ceiling and again. And just keep alternating there from clockwise to anti-clockwise with that same movement. Okay, we are going to move on next into bending our knees into a gentle squat, lifting the heels up. I'm going to bring my arms all the way up to the ceiling, bringing it back, and then back up I come. The ball is in between my hands. If it feels a bit too much lifting the heels up, then you can do this into that knee squat, lifting the arms up and coming back up instead. And always fix a point at the opposite side just to help you make you nice and steady, and think of a string pulling you up from the top of your head up to the ceiling to maintain that nice extension of the whole spine. Now just relaxing the legs and bringing the neck on one side, ear to shoulder, to add a bit of a neck stretch, and then alternating to the other side. And again, switching sides. Making sure you keep your shoulder nice and relaxed, let the ear come to that shoulder, and switch sides. Next we're going to do some pedaling on the spot, so lifting one heel up and then the other, and keeping that movement we're going to bring that ball all around our body, and I'm just alternating there from starting from the bottom and then going all the way around and then lower down up to my waist, and then circling away and up the way again, and just alternating there to get the coordination working nice and hard. And just making that last movement your last one there, bringing the ball in between your hands. Going to soften the knees again, bending the knees, bringing the arm up to the ceiling, and then throwing that ball up, lifting it, and then as you grab it, you're going to bend those knees a little further to bring that ball in between the legs, and just alternating there at your own speed. I tend to do that fairly quickly to try and get the heart rate going a little. And just make that one your last one. Okie doke, just going into a dynamic stretch of that hamstring, so lifting the toes up just on the heel of that leg and then sweeping that hand forward and back the way, a bit like a bowling motion, and just stay on that one side to start with, and the other leg can bend forward and back the way as well to add a bit of proprioceptive element, and then switching sides, same again, straightening that leg onto the toes and sweeping that hand forward and back into that bowling motion, bending the alternative leg up and down. Okay, and stopping there for that one, bringing that ball back in between your hands, going into a deeper squat now that we are nice and warmed up, and bringing those arms forward about 90 degrees and then back up. making your next one your last one, and then we are going to go onto our back for the next part of our exercise. And we're going to place the ball just in the lower part of our back, kind of coccyx region. Just make sure your ball is not too hard so that there's a bit of space there, so a little bit of air, just so it's not too difficult in terms of the balance. And gradually reduce the movement of your pelvic tilt so you find a 50-50 between the two extremities, which is your pelvic neutral position to get started into our first exercise. So we're going to go into hip twist level 2 first of all. So one leg is going to come down to the side, and the other one is going to stay nice and stable with that imaginary glass on it. We're trying to keep as steady as we can. Only drop that right leg down as far as you feel you can control around your hip, your pelvis, and the ball is there to give you that feedback that you shouldn't feel like you're rolling away from that ball. We are doing 5 on one side, then switching to the other side and keeping alternating there between the stabilized leg and the one coming down. Try and keep your back nice and flat as much as possible against that ball, breathing out on the effort as you come down and in as you come back up. Keep thinking about everything being nice and relaxed, your neck nice and long, thinking of that fruit between the chin and the chest. And keep alternating every 5 from one leg to the other. I'm now showing you into the double tabletop position, which is the progression, but do stay at the one leg down and back if that is challenging you enough. Same idea, the static leg should not be moving at all. It should still have that imaginary glass on that knee, and the other one is only coming out to the side as low down as it can control, so that we are not rolling down either side. Our pelvis and lower back is still in that neutral position. And that side, just make sure that you reset every so often that double tabletop position to make sure your trans-abdominals are nice and engaged. So if you've done 5 on each side, come back down, and it's thinking about that sweeping motion to come up. And just make that next one your last one there, and we are going to move on to scissors. So the ball is still in that same position for our scissors, and one leg is going to come down the way as the other one stays up in that single tabletop position, just alternating. The faster you go, the harder, and just make sure that your breathing is matching the scissors movement. So there I'm breathing out for 2 and in for 2. If you're going a little bit slower, you may want to breathe out for 1 and in for 1. Same idea again, do come back down to reset as you need, and you can progress on to add abdominal prep into it, sinking that rib cage down and lifting the head up, keeping it nice and long with that imaginary fruit between the chin and the chest, and just dropping down as you need for a little rest and resetting your abdominal prep as needed. Make sure that when the leg comes back, it just comes back to that neutral position, that it doesn't get lifted up to the ceiling. We're still controlling the movement from the pelvic and hip region. Coming on to the end there, resting down for a wee minute, bringing those arms nice and relaxed down. If you're in outdoor prep, we're going to go into one leg circle. So lifting that leg up with the toes pointing up to the ceiling, thinking of an imaginary pen at the tip of your toes, and you are drawing those circles at the top of the ceiling there. I tend to alternate doing 2 clockwise, 2 anti-clockwise to really get the coordination working. And you can make the circle small and then a wee bit bigger, but again, only make the circle as big as you can control it around the hip and the pelvis. If you had your hand on your pelvis, you shouldn't feel yourself rolling. You should not feel that ball move. Doing 4 on each side and then dropping back down and alternating sides and trying to keep the other leg as stable as possible. Feel free to cross your arms if you want to make the coordination element more challenging, and it will feel more wobbly and you'll still get that feedback from the ball. You're breathing, you breathe out as you do the circle, and you just breathe in at the very end of the circle before you start again with the next circle. Okay, and just making this set your last one for your one leg circle. And now taking the ball away and placing it in between your knees instead, in double tabletop position, to drop down to that hip twist. So the legs are coming down on each side and back up using those abdominals, and your neck is going to the opposite side than your legs. I'm just giving it a nice little stretch there. Breathing out, coming down, and coming back up. Feel free to stay in that position, otherwise you can bring the ball at your feet instead for the last few, just to get the abdominals working a little bit harder. So same movement again, just ensuring that your lower back is not doming. This should not feel sore around your back. And then just coming back up to the middle. Do have the ball then coming in between your feet for the next one if you are still in the bent position. And we are going to drop the legs flat down, bringing it back up to that double top kind of position with the legs straight. And then just lifting the abdominals up to come and touch the ball for a wee tap before you come back down. And legs coming down and up, abdominal prep touching ball back down. Breathe out down, breathe in back up, breathe out up, breathe in down. Your back should still be nice and flat. Again, you shouldn't be doming. Same again, it should not be sore on your back. If it is, do drop down to just staying in your side to side hip twist instead. This is quite a hard exercise for the abdominals and the hip extensors. A lot of research is showing that it only needs to be done in control. Okay, and stopping there, well done. And just taking the ball away when you're ready. And just coming to bring your knees to your chest, and just for a little knee hug, a little break there. Nice and relaxed breathing. In your own time, we're going to bring the ball in between the knees to go into shoulder bridge in that position. Do make sure you find your neutral 50-50 again before coming up the way, ball in between your knees. Breathing out, coming up, arms behind your head, breathing in, arms back and body back down. Making sure you really engage your glutes, coming up vertebrae per vertebrae, back down vertebrae per vertebrae. Thinking of an imaginary harness pulling you up to the ceiling from the middle so you're not dropping from either side. And feel free to add that progression there that I'm doing, lifting my heel up at the very end before I come back down. Keeping that breathing going, out as you come up, in as you come back. Smashing, well done. Just taking the ball away and dropping down onto our side this time with the ball just above the ankles. Making sure you find your nice and lengthened position on your side, so do roll forward and back till you feel happy that you are onto your hip, onto that bony bone. And we're going to do leg lift and lower, lengthening and up, and then coming back down, making sure the rest of your body is staying nice and flat. And breathing out, coming up, breathing in, back down, coming up and down as relaxed. My hand is on the waist to challenge the coordination and balance, but if that feels a bit too much and you're a wee bit too wobbly and you feel like your back is rolling back, then feel free to pop your hand at the front in that meringue position. So it's just there to help you sustain the position, not fixing through your upper body. Okay guys, just making it 5 more. And stopping it there, well done. And just taking the ball away there. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So ball at the ankles again, make sure that you do find your middle ground on your hip. And once again, hand at the front in that meringue shape or on your waist, depending on the control. And breathing out, coming up. And back down. Lengthening and up to that hip height. And think about an imaginary wall behind you as well. You can see that I've corrected that you're not rolling onto your back, just really staying on that hip and that control. Just making that next one your last one there. Okay, so we'll go into side bends. We'll stay in short lever with the legs bent to start with, to just really work the alignment of the upper body, so shoulder and elbows kind of directly in line. And thinking about that arm lengthening up and above the head and then coming back. It's feeling like kind of a shooting bull going all the way across and holding that bull in that hand to help doing that end of the lengthening motion. Think of a harness, this time at the waist side, that's pulling you up. So it's directly up to the ceiling rather than kind of going forward or back. And I'm just showing you there how to do the full side bend, but feel free to stay in the prep one that we were doing depending on what you're comfortable with. So legs are kind of crossed at the bottom to help you having a bit of a lever, and then the hand is nice and straight this time. And we're shooting like a star, up and forward above the head and then coming back to the same position, lengthening sideways, not dropping forward or back at the waist. Breathe out, coming up, breathe in, coming back. Okie doke, well done guys. And just switching sides, going back into short lever to start with, just to really get happy with the alignment. Same again, feel free to stay that way if you prefer to the full side bend. Just making sure that you are lengthening forward, not kind of dropping back the way or forward around the back. It's that lengthening motion. Breathing out, coming up, breathing in, coming back. And same again, stay at that level if you're happy there. Otherwise, doing that little kind of crochet between the heels again to allow for that lever, hand at the knee to allow to push and shooting like a star, lengthening up and coming back. Breathe out up, breathe in, come back. It's a great exercise to do with a film so that you can really watch your alignment, because it's quite hard to know whether you are kind of in line to whether you've rolled back or forward. Right, that's us coming up to the end. Well done, guys. Just making that next one your last one. And then relaxing back. Okie doke, so we're now going to roll into a tummy. That's the last exercise that we're going to do. And the ball is going to be at the back in between the hands with the palm facing one another. And we're just going to do a bit of retraction, kind of swan dive position in there. Same idea again, really thinking about a lengthening of the hands and arms away from the body before it comes up, and then very much coming from the bottom of the shoulder blades, thinking that you've got an imaginary pin that you're squeezing there, so it's not coming from the top of your shoulders. Your neck is nice and relaxed also, so note that I'm still looking down the way, keeping my neck nice and long with that imaginary fruit between the chin and the chest. So lengthening up and squeeze, and back, and just trying to keep your legs down as much as possible, engaging your glute. You can make it a little bit more difficult with adding little pulses of the hundreds at the end for 5. You breathe out as you come up, in as you come back. If you're doing the pulses, you can breathe out coming up, in as you do your pulses, and out coming back down. Okay, well done, guys. Just making it 2 more there. And then come and rest into the child pose, that shell stretch. And I've got the ball at the front in between my hands to push that ball a little bit further, just to add a bit more of a full back stretch there. Breathing is nice and relaxed. And again, just pushing those hands away as much as you want, and then bringing those hands with the ball to the right, just stretching the opposite side. And then gently coming back and doing the same onto the opposite side. And in your own time coming back again. And this time we're going to go into sitting, just bottom onto heels there, and going into mermaid, holding the ball with both hands one way, and then doing the same with the other side, getting that thoracic spine nice and opened up. Breathing out, stretching one way, and breathing in as you come back, and out the other way. And just one more on each side there. And you can open one hand as well out to the side and do the same on the other side, just to add a bit more of a shoulder opening there. Okay, so just dropping the ball for your next stretch. I'm just going to arm extension, so one arm nice and straight, and the above arm in a bent position just above and below the elbow, to push in the way a little, adding to the stretch around the shoulder, and doing the same on the other side. Going to go into pigeon stretch next, but don't push if that doesn't feel comfortable. So on all 4, I'm bringing right leg forward in a bent position. The left leg is nice and straight behind to open up my hip flexors, and then bringing my body forward on top of that leg, just relaxing there and letting the gravity take action and stretch. You can stay upwards if that feels too much also. And you can also add a quad stretch that way by bending the left leg and grabbing onto that foot and twisting a little. Once again, don't do it if it doesn't feel right. Then going into downward dog, I do this as a transition to switch sides, but feel free to just switch sides the way that works for you. Bending that left leg again around that waist, right leg nice and straight, and just allowing my body to rest onto that front leg against gravity once again. Once again, feel free to add a bit of that quad stretch by bending that leg behind you into that bend position, grabbing onto the foot and twisting. Coming back down the way, I again come off into downward dog, but feel free to do it the way that works for you, and then walking your hands and feet together to end up into that reversed roll position. From there, holding onto the ball in between your hands if you have it nearby, rolling back up all the way up, and then rolling back down vertebrae per vertebrae as low down to the floor as comfortable. And you can even walk those hands forward with the ball to add a bit more of a stretch. And then gently coming back, rolling vertebrae per vertebrae all the way up, arms up to the ceiling, and coming back. And that is us. Well done everyone. I hope that you have enjoyed today's session, and I wish you a lovely end of year and happy holidays to you all.